Good afternoon. It looks like we have a majority of districts on the line, so we'll go ahead and get started. We'll do a brief roll call in a few minutes, let a few folks join. I know with the new Webex feature, it's a little bit different in the past, so I know I've had some difficulties getting started. So we want to give y'all a brief status of the TAP and TASA projects, where we are, and some additional information on getting those projects to construction and then carrying them forward through construction, what your role in that is. We also will focus most of our time on the 2019 call for projects. As y'all know, our preliminary applications are due Friday, so we've got an update on that for y'all, and we'll talk about the review process. And Noah will demonstrate the new SharePoint site for evaluations, and we'll give y'all a couple of brief notes about some upcoming efforts underway. So with that, I will go ahead and do a quick roll call. So let me know if you're on the line. Is there anyone from Abilene District? Amarillo?
Amarillo's here.
All right. Atlanta?
Atlanta's here.
All right. Austin District?
Sean's here.
Great, Sean, thanks. Arnold Bowles, Belmont District?
He raised his hand.
Oh, good deal. Thank you. Brownwood District?
Brownwood's here.
All right. Bryan District?
Brian's on.
All right. Childress District? Okay. Corpus Christi? What about Dallas District?
Mayor is here from Dallas.
All right. Thank you for joining us. El Paso District?
Your call. Please leave your name and number, and I'll get back with you as soon as possible.
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Okay, I don't know.
Really good voicemail.
He'll have long voicemail, yes. Fort Worth District?
I'm here, Bonnie.
All right. Houston District? Laredo District? I did see Janice log in, so. Lubbock District?
Lubbock's here.
All right. Lufkin?
Lufkin's here.
All right. Odessa?
Odessa's here.
Good deal. Paris?
Paris is here.
All right. Far District? San Angelo District?
San Angelo's here, Bonnie.
All right. San Antonio District? Tyler District?
Tyler's here.
All right. Waco District?
Waco's here.
All right. Wichita Falls?
Wichita Falls is here.
All right. And Yoakum District?
Yoakum's here.
All right. Well, we're only missing a few folks, and y'all may not be, may not have the audio part on, so feel free to email us and let us know you were on. We want to make sure that everybody is aware of the evaluation process. So quickly on the construction status of TAP and TASA projects, we have 9 projects that have been, are substantially complete and have closed out or are near closeout. 30 projects are under construction, another 43 are in design, and 6 projects in TASA have not been executed with the AFA yet, and we're hoping to get those wrapped up in the coming weeks. And we have had 8 projects withdraw between TAP and TASA, so hopefully we'll be able to keep our projects on track and moving forward. A few things that are left to do. For those of you who may not have requested an FPAA or Federal Project Authorization for the PE phase, please go ahead and do that. The AFA does need to be executed first in order for the FPAA. The FPAA for PE is so that we can get reimbursed for TxDOT district staff time working on overseeing the preliminary engineering phase, including the design, environmental, and right-of-way, et cetera. And if you haven't already, everyone needs to do a kickoff meeting with their project sponsor. I sent out an email last week asking folks to check their projects in TxDOT Connect for accuracy. I've had a few districts let me know that that has been done, and there were a few issues that have come up. It seems that a lot of projects, when they transfer over, are being classified as border construction facilities rather than bike facilities. So that's something, and I also found a project that was listed as canceled that's under construction. So we need to check our projects, make sure that TxDOT Connect accurately reflects what we have, and I'm sure issues will come up over time, and we'll just address them as they come. We also want to be sure that we're monitoring the in-kind contributions, and I'll mention that process in a few slides. We want to also monitor project progress to ensure that we meet our federal funding obligations. That would be the FPAA for the construction phase, and make sure that letting dates are met. And we also need to inform construction staff of how to charge, what activities to bill for the various construction costs, and we'll go over that. And then, of course, verify project is closed out after construction is complete. So many of y'all have been very helpful and responsive to Katie Levine with Jacobs Engineering. She is helping us get a status on all of the TAP and TASA projects that are underway to make sure that TxDOT meets the statewide funding obligations for non-urban and small urban TA projects. So I appreciate y'all's willingness to provide her with those updates on a regular basis. In particular, obviously, we're focused on the FY19 obligations. And we ask that you monitor the progress on your projects to help ensure that funds are obligated on time. And if there's any concern or need to adjust a letting date, if y'all would please coordinate with us on that. We need to approve letting date adjustments because it has a domino effect statewide. So I've been working recently with Finance Division to make sure that the local let TAP and TASA construction projects are set up in PeopleSoft correctly. Most of the projects that had in-kind contributions and EDCP were not actually set up in PeopleSoft correctly, and so the reimbursement rate may not have been correct, or the correct activity charge code wasn't being billed. So we may have to modify some projects that have already been set up. And I have sent some of y'all some tables that identify the reimbursement rates and activity charge codes. and some things came up, and so we had to adjust that a little bit, and so I'll be sending revised tables to some folks. But in general, projects that have in-kind contributions are going to have a portion of the reimbursements at 100%, and then we'll identify a threshold where that 100% reimbursement stops, and then another reimbursement rate will apply, either an 80-20 or something higher than that. If they have EDCP, it could be like 90.5764 or something percent. And then there are 3 different charge codes shown here, and the last charge code is for TxDOT staff time, the direct cost or administrative cost. So it's important that we bill to the right activity charge codes. Okay. So again, this is just an example of the reimbursement rates. This is an example spreadsheet for one of the projects that had in-kind contributions. So the local government should be reimbursed 100% up to a threshold of $580,000, and that's dependent on how much of their in-kind contribution that they used, and then they would be reimbursed 80-20 for any remaining construction costs. So it's important to monitor the reimbursements to ensure that these thresholds are not exceeded, because then the local government will end up having to pay us back later. So there are, as I mentioned, several projects that had already been set up in PeopleSoft that will need adjustments. And so first, finance has to set up the project correctly in PeopleSoft before we can fix these issues or process further payments. And finance, I gave them all but one yesterday. One of them I'm having trouble with the math on. I gave them all of the setups for the local lets with EDCP and in-kind yesterday, and they promised to have them set up by April 19th. There are 2 different issues. First of all, if the charges were billed to the wrong activity, then vouchers, then the district needs to complete JV 210 forms to move vouchers from one activity to another. And then if projects were reimbursed at like 80% when they should have been reimbursed at a higher rate, like 100% or 90.798%, then the districts need to submit a new billing worksheet to accounts payable for those previously processed invoices for that additional reimbursement amount. So for example, if a project was reimbursed at 80% but has in-kind contributions, then we would submit a new billing worksheet for 20% reimbursement up to the threshold for that in-kind contribution. If local governments were reimbursed 80% but had a 57% EDCP reduction, for example, then you would submit the new billing worksheet for that additional percentage. And those percentages will be provided to y'all in the spreadsheet. Here are some additional resources for correcting charge codes. The JV 210 form is on eForms. There's a guide, a quick reference guide for adjusting submissions, and that's found at this link. And the forms are supposed to be emailed to finance at this email address, and we'll provide this presentation to you so that you'll have the hyperlinks to get this information. And does anyone have any questions on adjusting the activity code or the reimbursement rates? I may defer it to a one-on-one phone call looking at a particular project, but in general, does anyone have any questions? Okay, moving on. I just wanted to remind y'all about our in-kind contribution guidance. Again, this is where, you know, where the rubber meets the road. We need to ensure that people are actually using the in-kind contribution that they said they would. So if there's a lower amount that they use for their in-kind contributions, then that affects the reimbursement rates. So we just need to be sure to track it using the guidance found on Local Government Projects intranet page. And the link is here. And then we need to, if y'all can report that to me and let me know if y'all, if the local government used all of their in-kind contribution, and if not, what was the final amount before we get the project set up in PeopleSoft so that we can set them up correctly the first time. That's just the last couple pages of the in-kind contribution guidance and worksheet. And with that, if y'all have any questions on in-kind contributions or billing, feel free to chime in now. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to Noah to talk about the current call.
Bonnie, this is Stephen and Brian. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Stephen.
Okay, so here's a couple of dumb questions for you. We all know, well, most of us know, maybe not all of us do know, Maury's retired, and so I've taken his spot. And how do I find out, and this may be a one-on-one between you and me and the rest of you know, Noah and Katie and everybody, but how do I find out from the existing projects going on in the Bryan district what projects had reimbursement or in-kind? Is that something that you have available and can share with me? Or is there somebody here in the Bryan district that, other than Maury, that he was working with that would know that information?
So that would be in the AFA and in the approved application for the projects that were funded. And if you can't find those documents in the project file, let me know and we can track them down for you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right. Well, I guess if there's no other questions, I'll carry on with the presentation. I don't think I've met everyone yet. My name's Noah Heath. I met a lot of y'all at the workshops. I went to quite a few of these. I started January 22nd, and they sent me on the road within a few weeks. But it was a great opportunity because I got to meet a lot of the TA coordinators and people I'd be working with, and everybody was very nice and hospitable. We would like to thank all of the hosts of the district workshops. Everything went really smoothly with the workshops. We had 14 of them across the state. 2 of them were available through webinars, so the one in San Angelo and then the one in Tyler. Both of those could be accessed through webinars. We had 325 in-person attendees, and that's not counting TxDOT staff. And we had 171 online registrations, so that's nearly 500 attendees at the 14 workshops. The attendees seemed to understand and be in favor of the 2-step application process. We got positive feedback, and many of the attendees voiced their appreciation that TxDOT was hosting these workshops to provide all of the detailed information about this call for projects. Attendees asked several questions. We've compiled all those questions and posted that on the Bike and Ped website under the 2019 Call for Projects information. A majority of the attendees seem to be interested in the Safe Routes to School funds. That 100% federal funding has really drawn and focused a lot of interest on the Safe Routes to School funding pot of money. There was a higher attendance in Central, East, and South Texas compared to the Panhandle and out West. So I'll be focusing on the preliminary application review process. And this slide shows the overall timeline for the call for projects. Y'all have probably seen this a few times. It's in the program guide, and then at the prior presentation, this was presented. We'll be focused on the time frame between April 12th to June 28th. So it's pretty small relative to the total time frame, but there's a lot of things that will happen in that 2-month period. The PTN is going to review all of the preliminary applications that are submitted for eligibility, and then the districts are going to hold project sponsor meetings and complete a district review form. So this slide shows in more detail the dates and process and different steps to get through that basically 2-month time frame. After this meeting, I'll be sending everyone a non-disclosure agreement statement, and this is for all the district reviewers who will participate in the review of these preliminary applications. And I'll go into more detail about the non-disclosure agreement. It's just basically saying that you won't share any information that you gain from reviewing these applications. I'll send that out right after this meeting. Bonnie mentioned that the deadline is this Friday. As we receive preliminary applications, we're saving them, and we will review those preliminary applications, determine eligibility, and then populate the district review form with the information that's in those preliminary applications, and then upload those district review forms to the SharePoint site. I'll go into all of that in a little more detail. We'll go through the district review form, and then also I'll demonstrate how to use the SharePoint site. I'm asking that if you can, get the non-disclosure statement back to me by April 19th. That'll ensure that we get everyone into the SharePoint site and can grant access and send that out to everyone by April 24th. I understand that there may be additional reviewers as we go along that you want to add on, and you can certainly do that, and we'll provide access to the SharePoint site. But if we get the majority of them in by the 19th, then that'll allow us to set it up, and everyone will have access to everything from the start. All the TAN items, I forgot to mention at the start of this, but all the TAN items are items that PTN, the Bike and Ped program, will take care of here in Austin, and then the blue ones are the district responsibilities. So the bulk of it is April 24th through June 7th, and that is the time frame that the districts will meet with the project sponsors, complete the review form, the district review form for the non-urban TA and Safe Routes to School funding pots, and then upload those district review forms to the SharePoint site. We'll get the applications in on the 12th, and our review to determine eligibility and then populate the district review forms will be April 12th through the 22nd, and we'll get those out to everyone by the 24th, or provide access to the SharePoint site. So June 7th is the deadline for completing the district review form and uploading it to SharePoint. As those are being completed, PTN will start to review those forms, those completed district review forms, and approve project sponsors to advance to step 2. And then June 17th or 18th, PTN will notify the project sponsors of their status. So let them know if they've moved on to step 2 of the process and what timeline they should follow. So for the small urban TA, the long-term anticipated funding, this is for the 5,001 to 200,000 population areas that are applying for funding that's anticipated for 2021 and 2022. The district review form for those is not due until August 2nd, since we have more time to review those, and then also the funding won't be available for a while, so we stretched out the timeline on those. So the non-disclosure statement, I'll send that out to you guys right after this meeting along with a PDF of this presentation. If the district TA coordinators could forward the NDS to district staff who will be involved in the preliminary application process, that would be great. You can either fill it out electronically and sign it electronically and send it back, or if you prefer to print it, sign it, scan it, and then email it back, that'll work as well. PTN needs the non-disclosure statements to grant access to the SharePoint site. So as soon as we get those in, we'll grant access to the SharePoint site, and on the SharePoint site, you'll be able to access the preliminary application and the district review form. And we're asking that you get the non-disclosure statements back to us by April 19th. And that'll allow us to grant access to, so that you can access all that information by the 24th of April. So that's just a screenshot of what the SharePoint site looks like. I'm going to actually pull it up here in a second and run through how you will, you'll get a link, and so I'll go through and basically demonstrate how you'll access it. But there's a folder for each district on the site. There's also, on the left, there'll be some additional information. And where I guess on the right-hand side of the web page, there'll be some additional information. Probably right now we have a kind of just a graphic there showing the flow of how the district review process will go. But we'll probably replace that with a link. We might include this presentation and then a README document that'll provide instructions of how to upload and download information off the SharePoint site. As a district reviewer, you'll be able to access the site, download any documents on the site, and then once the district review form is complete, you'll be able to upload that back to the folder that you downloaded it from. So within each district, there's 2 folders: an available transportation alternative Safe Routes to School folder that's for the available funding, the short-term June 7th deadline, and then there's a folder for the projects that are future transportation alternative funding. Those are the ones that have the deadline of August 2nd that we're stretching out the timeline a little bit for. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate.
Yeah,
I can escape.
no, you're right.
So you'll get a, can everyone see that email link? It's just a blank email basically. I'm assuming everyone can. If you can't see it, let me know, and then I'll see if see if I can change something on the screen. But you'll basically get an email. Once you filled out the non-disclosure form, we'll send an email inviting you to the SharePoint site, and I'll have a link. And you just click on the link, and I'll have your TxDOT email. You pick that account, and you'll log in with your TxDOT username and password. And it'll bring you to the website, or to the SharePoint site. And there's a folder for each district. On the right side, like I was saying, we'll have useful information. We'll include an instruction document that you can read that'll give you just basic instructions of how to operate the site. But I set up a demonstration in the Amarillo folder. These aren't really projects that we've received yet, but I went ahead and set up a folder for these imaginary projects.
Could you zoom in?
Yeah.
We have a big screen, but they may not have.
Control plus.
I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Oh. This may help you view it a little bit better. But basically, each district will have a folder. Within that folder, there'll be the two folders I was describing earlier, and then within those folders will be a folder for each project. So if a project sponsor has more than one project, you'll have like City of Amarillo 01, City of Amarillo 02, that's two separate projects. And then within the project folder, you'll have the district review form and then the preliminary application. And so if you click on the left side, there's a little check mark you can click, and you can download. You'll go through the process to save it wherever you would like. Same with the district review form. Once you've completed the district review form, you can upload to the folder. Just clicking on upload. You basically can just browse and pick a document. And it'll upload it to the folder. So it's pretty easy to use. It's a lot like a folder tree to find stuff, and then you have these upload and download buttons. So within the folders, you'll be able to download the district review form. I sent out a template of that Friday. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but within the district review form, all of the items that are grayed out, these are items that PTN will populate from information from the preliminary application. Basically, we'll be able to automate that. Some of the items might look a little funny because they're just checks, yes, no, and so, or if there may be a check or they just leave it blank, and if it's left blank, it'll say like off, and basically means they didn't check it. So some things may look a little funny, but most of these items will be populated with information. PTN will populate those gray fields with information, and then also complete the district eligibility determination, or division eligibility determination. So PTN will go through these questions and determine if the project is eligible, and then also check the funding pots that it's eligible for. down at the bottom. This will be completed between basically Friday and then April 22nd. April 24th through June 6th, the districts will have access to the district review form. If you guys could contact the project sponsors by April 30th, that would be great. You may not be able to set up the meeting by then, but I think in our workshop meetings and the overview presentation, we had that as a date that the districts would try to contact the project sponsors by. So the project sponsors may call you guys if they haven't heard from you by April 30th. That's another area that will be populated automatically, all the gray areas. So there's some more areas. The districts will fill out all the yes, no check boxes and then add comments to each section. And there'll be one form for each project. And once the project's complete, the districts will upload it to the SharePoint site. And the forms are due on the SharePoint site by June 7th. So some important notes, the areas with italics and underline, those are just notes for staff or for district staff to look at and remind you guys of areas to focus on. They're not really to be read to the project sponsors. The district review form is an internal use-only document. Since this is a competitive evaluation, we don't want to provide that to the district or to the project sponsors. So it's internal use only. The project complexity section is an important section to focus on. So this top area, the comments that the districts add, we'll be looking at very closely. We want to make sure that if there are any issues with the projects that we're aware of them early on. If the applicants are applying for Safe Routes to School, we'd like to ask that if the project doesn't receive funding for Safe Routes to School, if they would like to be considered for TA funding as well. We've noticed that with some of the applications, they haven't specifically checked that they're interested in transportation alternatives funding, so we want to give them opportunity. If they are interested in that funding, we want to make sure we review it for under the transportation alternative funding. But if they're not interested, we don't want to spend staff time reviewing those documents for transportation alternative funding. Also, this would be a good time to remind the project sponsors that this is a reimbursement program. So they'll have to have the funding to pay cost up front and then be reimbursed after. And then also they can be responsible for the cost overruns on the project. So can they cover those cost overruns? And then also the district PA review conclusion section, make sure you complete that section as well. There's an area to add all of the individuals who were participated in the review of the preliminary application. So that's good information as well. The district review meetings, attendees, the project sponsor, the TA, SRTS coordinators, any area office staff that may need to review it, environmental coordinators. If there's any others that you guys think should be included in the meetings, it's kind of up to y'all who's all involved in the meeting, but here's some general ideas of the staff that should attend. The purpose of the meeting is to understand the proposed project concept, inform the project sponsor about reimbursement in kind, discuss project complexities, the potential cost and delays of those complexities, discuss the cost estimate, identify project readiness, and then share the transportation alternative and safe routes to school funding details and constraints. I mentioned it before, the short-term safe routes to school and non-urban TA sponsors, the deadline for those district review forms is June 7th. For the small urban, since we have more time on that, August 2nd is the deadline for those. Managing the district review meetings. We understand that some of the districts may have more applicants than others, and so there is flexibility in managing these meetings. They can be in person, a Webex, or a conference call. One meeting per project sponsor is sufficient. So if you have a project sponsor that has 4 projects, you can meet with them once and just cover all the projects. It may be a longer meeting, but it'll be more efficient if you just have to meet with them once. A phone call may be sufficient for experienced entities who have been awarded TA funds previously and performed well. So you know who these entities are in your district. If they've got a handle on the process, a phone call may be enough to fill out that district review form. A phone call may also be enough for a larger entity that has experience with TA funds and then also has the staff to manage these projects. And it's up to you guys to kind of use your judgment on how you want to manage these district review meetings. Our main goal is just to develop better applications through this process and the preliminary application review process, and to get good quality projects that can be built on time and within budget. So we're hoping that this initial review process will help get better detailed applications, and then down the road get better projects. I think with that, I'll ask if anyone has any questions about the process. We have a few more slides that I'll cover, but this is a good stopping point because this is the last slide on the district review process. So, are there any questions?
Okay, this is Stephen again and Brian.
Any ideas on, when we're discussing this with them about the reimbursable, what type of time frame are we looking at for that reimbursement? After they've submitted the check to the contractor, they get it back, and they send it in. How long does it take for them to be reimbursed?
So upon the receipt of a complete and accurate invoice, we typically turn it around in 30 days. But again, we need to be able to, they need to provide us with a complete and accurate invoice. And show that they've paid their contractor, you know.
Any other questions?
Yeah, this is Caitlin Waco. I've got a quick question. If we have our public sponsors who have not gone out for any public support, but we anticipate there might be some opposition just based on past experience, is that something we should include in our review as we're aware of it?
Yeah, that would be good information to know. We don't want, TxDOT doesn't want to fund projects that has public opposition, basically. So
right, but if it hasn't been anything voiced, we just think that there's a possibility. Is that something we should indicate there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, include that in the district review form.
Okay, this is Stephen and Brian. I have a question.
Yes.
Part of the issues that have happened in the past, my understanding is that the cost estimates were not accurately done, and so the funding was either over or under, maybe under. And so in reviewing the cost estimate that's provided, Should we make any kind of indication if we think the cost estimate is not accurate?
Yeah, that would be good information to have and include in the comments on the review form. And it would also be good to let the project sponsor know that they may need to provide a better cost estimate in the detailed application.
Okay, assuming they go to the detailed application, that is?
Right, and most people we would assume to proceed to the detailed application.
Okay.
This is, the two-step application process is intended to help them flesh out their projects better and prepare better estimates, et cetera, and be more informed of what it takes to complete these projects, and for them to communicate with the districts earlier on what they're proposing. And the cost estimate at the preliminary application stage is just a planning level estimate. So it will be preliminary, high level, ballpark. You know, it won't necessarily be detailed, although some do have more detailed estimates. So it's important to take advantage of this opportunity to look at what they have and to give them some guidance on what needs to be included in an appropriate cost estimate for the project.
Thank you.
All right, I'll move on to the next slides. If you think of a question, just let us know and we can answer it here, or you can send us an email. The Traffic Safety Division recently released a RFP notice on March 22nd for Safe Routes to School non-infrastructure grants. So this is for non-infrastructure Safe Routes to School projects. The two items they're focused on is school-age children's educational toolkit and in-school bicycle and pedestrian safety presentation program. And the proposal deadline is April 22nd. So we just wanted to let you know this may cause some confusion from project sponsors that are interested in Safe Routes to School funds. So if you hear from a project sponsor and they're confused about the deadline, it may be because of this other effort that Traffic Safety Division is in the process of for non-infrastructure projects. And that link is a link to the basically the page that gives you all the information about their request for proposals. So if you have someone who contacts you and they're interested in this funding pot, then I would send them to that link and it will give them all the information they need to get started with that. And the other item, April 25th, TxDOT and TTI will present and demonstrate the newly released Texas Bicycle and Pedestrian Count Exchange. It's a webinar that'll introduce the website where you can get bicycle and pedestrian data, and then also provide a presentation on doing seasonal count adjustments, all kinds of neat stuff. The link is at the bottom, and you can, you've probably received an invitation to this, but it's a pretty exciting initiative, and we hope to be able to collect data from across the state and then be able to share it with local entities.
Just an FYI, that's right in the middle of the Texas ASLA conference, and I don't know how many people here are landscape architects that are going to be attending that. I will be, and I'll see if I can set up something that might allow us to have a room that we could do that webinar, depending on how many people, how many landscape architects are in a similar situation that I am, doing this duty and landscape architecture at the same time. So just a heads up.
Thanks for the information, Stephen. I don't know that presentation will be recorded, but we will be able to make the presentation available, and we can answer questions on the Bike Ped Count Exchange anytime. We also just got funding from RTI. This Count Exchange is a result from the research project that we've been working on for the last couple of years to establish the foundations of a statewide bike ped count program. And most of the counts are collected locally by cities and MPOs, and it's a voluntary effort at this point. We're hoping to grow the program, and this is one of the spin-offs of that, and another is that RTI funded us for implementation funds, so we'll be providing more in-depth training across the state. I believe we got approved for 4 trainings across the state in each of the 4 corners of the state, so we'll be providing more in-depth training on bike ped counting probably about a year from now, maybe a little less.
Are there any other questions? All right, well, thanks for attending. We had really good attendance, and if you think of any questions or have any comments, please email either me or Bonnie, and I'll be sending out an email later this afternoon with the non-disclosure statement and a PDF of this presentation.
And we can stay on the line a few minutes in case there are any additional questions. All right. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Bonnie. You know what?
You're welcome.
Bonnie, just got to tell you, Abilene was on the call. We just missed the roll call. We had a little problem with the phones.
Who's this?
Abilene, Cliff.
Abilene. All right.
Yep.
Thank you, Cliff.
All right. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good day.
You too. All right, any other questions? All right, well then we'll hang up. Thank y'all.